Hey, boys and girls, back for another episode. We've been really for almost a week now doing some kind of basic division. We're doing a lot with kind of circles and making groups and all those kind of things. And then yesterday, Mrs. White made us just a super awesome assignment you could do where you could actually manipulate and make boxes and put things in groups and move kind of sports equipment and pieces of pizza and cookies and different things like that. And then there was a part where then they wanted you to connect that to the division. Okay? And then today I'm just going to kind of focus on the division piece. I have a basic question here like 86 divided by 2. Okay, this is one where there's kind of tell you in advance there's not going to be any remainders or things left over. So things are going to go in kind of quickly and nicely. Okay, so again, your first question asks is these are the steps over here, DMSBR. I try to keep the same super cool color coding that Mrs. White had for yesterday's assignment. So green is divide. That top number is really how many groups were you able to make. And that's what we're kind of looking for. You kind of start, if you can, one number at a time. In this case, we can't. Pretend the 6 isn't even there. Don't worry about all the stuff underneath. Just worry about 8 and 6. Or sorry, 8 and 2. Okay? If I have 8, how many groups of 2 can I make? That's what you're trying to ask yourself. And if I have 8 kids, how many teams of 2 can I make? If there are 8 kids and I say, everyone find a partner, right? How many groups would we make? A good strategy to start with is to kind of make them over here like this instead of these circles. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's as close as I can get. Okay. How many groups is that? You count 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what goes up here. We had 4 groups of 8. See how quickly I can switch colors. Trying a new program today. See how it goes. Okay, so I had 4 groups. How many of the kids did I use? That's when we want this one. And we used all 8 of our students. That's the purple. That's multiplied. It's really 4 times 2 is 8. It's not always going to be this exact same number. In this case, it was. Because 2 goes in exactly into 8. Okay, and then our next part is in blue. Just like over here, that's subtract. Sometimes there'd be some kids or some things or some whatever's left over. In this case, there isn't. 8 minus 8 is 0. I used all of them. Okay, and then this seems to be a part where a lot of you are getting tricked. Most of you can do, if it's just 8 divided by 2, you can come up with 4. Sometimes that could be written as a fraction. 8 halves equals 4. This little bar over here just means divided by. It'd be like if you ate 8 half pieces of a chocolate candy bar, you actually ate 4 whole pieces. Okay? And I don't want to get too much off into that side tangent. And then we'll go to this. Now, the only thing that's different, that was D, M, and S we did. Okay, you guys seem like you're pretty good with that part. And this is where some of you seem to be getting tricked lately. Then I bring down. I already used the 8. I haven't used the 6 yet. I draw this little arrow underneath. That comes down. There had been 1 left over. That would now be 16. Since there wasn't anything left, it's only 6 at this point. Okay, there was nothing else that was left over. So it's just the 6. And then the repeat is how many times can 2 fit into our new number? Like I said, that could have been 16. In this case, it was 6 because there was nothing left in the subtraction. This seems to be where a lot of you are getting stuck. That's the repeat part. After we subtract and bring down, then I start over with this new number that's down here. Okay? Everything up here doesn't really matter anymore. I'm trying to find my next set of groups. I'm trying to ask myself, again, I'm going to try the darker green and see if that helps. So this, because it's a little hard to see, this was a 4. That was when it went into 8. How many groups could we make with 8? Now we're going to repeat. How many times can 2 go into 6? And again, my little chart over here wasn't a waste of time. It's still there. 2, 4, 6. Now I want this one. How many groups was that? That was 1, 2, 3 groups. So there's my answer. How many did I use? That's the 3 times 2 is 6. That's where we want this one. And then my subtraction again. Oh, I'm sorry, that 6 should have been in purple. Let me fix that. And then when I subtract, that would be in blue. 6 minus 6. Again, I used all 6 kids, no remainder, was that one. Okay, and then they're also going to want you to go back and check it. I should have added that as a step down here. So you can just throw in check. My check would be 43 times 2 equals 86. That's how I would know that that was correct. I didn't really have time to write it out. Again, it'd be 2 times 3 is 6, and then 2 times 4 is 8. Again, if you're asking for something like a box that you have to put your answer in, that would be the answer you would want to put. Okay? I'll try a couple more. I'm going to do some where there are remainders and there are things left over. I'm going to show you what happened, though. Again, when you're dividing by 2, I always think of like splitting something. If you and I are going to share $86, the fair way would be we would each get 43. Now I'm going to try basically that same question, but with dividing by 3 instead of 2. It's a good idea. Again, before you start, you can always just kind of start making your 3 chart. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how many I'm going to need, but I know, again, those are going to kind of come in handy. Instead of trying to do it with all the circles and stuff, this is kind of a quicker and easier way to essentially be able to do the same thing. Because I'm going to show you that something's going to be kind of different here. Trying to think, again, how close? Again, don't worry about the 6 again. If I have 8, what's the closest I can get without going over using 3? So this is going to be what's different. I'll pick a different color. I'll pick black here because I already used my green. Trying to think, like, which of these is the best one to use? 3, I definitely can make more than one group. 2 is 6, 3 is 9. I'm thinking, well, 9 is really close to 8, but I don't have 3 groups. So this is what's going to be kind of trickier, what's going to be different, or where some of you are having trouble. So that's actually the one that I need to use. But that's not the answer up here. Up there, the answer is how many groups did we use? I know I just erased that, but this top part is always groups. How many groups were we able to make? This one under here is how many did we use? Again, then in the blue, should have done that in purple. So I'll fix that, erase it. Yeah, this box is always how many of those did we already use? And then the blue one down here is how many are still left or left over. And then you kind of repeat that. And then the red is the bring down. Okay, which again I have right here. And then afterwards, we're going to bring that down and join them together. So those are kind of the questions that you're asking yourself. How many groups can I make? How many did we already use? How many are still left over? And then we bring down and we repeat with our new number. Again, 6 is not what we're going to put up here. That's 1, 2 groups. And so remember, groups goes up top. We made 2 groups of 3. 6, that's the number that I'm going to use down here. How many did I use so far? I have already used 6 out of 8. So again, how many do I have left over? That's my subtract. Again, we did 3 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 8 minus 6, that's our subtract, is 2. That's how many of the 8 were left over. I didn't quite make it all the way to 9. Okay, and then in red, next I'm going to bring down. The 6 is going to come down, and it now becomes 26. So I didn't go quite far enough on my chart from before. So I'm going to continue that. I'll go back. I'll pick a different color this time just to give it a little something different. So I stopped at 18. I can definitely make 21, 24, 27 seems to be pretty close. But I didn't quite get all the way there. And I didn't quite have enough for 27. And so 24 is the one that I'm going to want to use. And how many groups is that? Then you would count the groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was able to use 8 whole groups. Or it has to be kind of whole groups here. That's the number that goes up top. Okay? That's how many whole groups I was able to make with the 26 that were left. I didn't quite, again, have enough for 27. So now I'm starting over. I said, how many times can 3 fit into 26? It was 8 times. Again, I did my bring down. I did my repeat. Or my repeat was with this. How many times can 3 fit into 26? 8 times. And then what was left over, well, we kind of did that was from before. With the 6 we brought down, and I did more math facts. This time I could make it to 24, which was 8 groups. 8 times 3, this is when I then used this number. I used 24 out of the 26. Now how many were still left over? And now that's 2. So now I have a remainder of 2. So when I go to do my check, there's going to be something a little different here, and I'll do the check over on this side. So I have a little more space. See if I can find that same color again. I think it was this one. So I'm going to do 28 times 3. And that's just my quotient times my divisor. It's just these two numbers multiplied together. Again, the opposite of division is multiplication. They're called inverse operations. It's like going in reverse, backwards. Okay, so when I'm working my way through that, I should get pretty close to 86. I'm not going to get all the way to 86, and I'll show you something that's going to be different afterwards. First, I start with 3 times 8. Okay, that's 24. That's the same 24 that's down here. Okay, then I'll switch colors again. Next, I'm going to do 3 times 2, and then I'm going to add the 2 back on. 3 times 2 is 6. That's the same 6 that's right here, plus the 2 that was from right there gets me back to that. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. There's 84. I'd be saying, whoa, wait a minute. I was trying to get to 86. What happened? Okay, so when I was doing out my problem, I did 28 times 3. But that did not get me to 86. What I was missing was my remainder. I would then take 84, and I would add that 2 back on. That was my remainder. That gets me to 86. So I do 28 times 3 plus 2. That equals 86. Okay, this would be kind of your check. And I also kind of did it over here. If you have space, you're able to do that on scrap paper. That would be awesome. Okay, so just a couple examples. Again, really, doing 4 examples isn't really any different than doing 2 examples. I showed you one where there was no remainders, where there was no carry, where there was no kind of combination, and another one where there was. All right, so that's what you're going to be working on for today.